Hello, everybody, and welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I am Tim.
And I am Willie.
Willie, let's see. What's going on? Let's get the plugs going here real quick.
Oh, man.
First of all, I want to apologize because not because we took a week off. We gave people a heads up. I did say I was going to do an honor roll, and I've been slacking on the YouTube stuff. But if you listen to our Tiny Terror, which is available now on patreon.com/MidwestPodnet, you can hear why we've been delayed and why I have been delayed with some of the stuff that I try to put out regularly. You can check that out. Tiny Terror.
Yes, we've been through adventures.
We have been through adventures.
You especially.
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah.
Well, you had adventures, so the really schedule has been kind of wonky, but whatever. We've done it, but I just wanted to apologize because I did say I was going to get an honor roll out. I will get that out this weekend for our Patreon subscribers.
Yes.
The game nerds, they did something really cool, and I almost think we should steal it at some point. There's a Reddit user who aggregated more than 700 greatest games of all time lists, and what the game nerds did for about an hour, it looks like, they kind of dived into that and they gave their thoughts and their opinions on some of these, on this aggregated list of the greatest games of all time. And I thought, like, man, you know what, I don't know if a Reddit user has already done the work for me, but I think I could probably pull like a bunch of greatest things and do like an Excel thing with it on my own time. But like, it would be kind of fun to like go through and just like maybe break it down, give our thoughts on some of this stuff. Maybe it's like a special episode someday.
I'd be down.
Yeah. But like, that sounds like that's a really cool episode. That's their last main episode that came out a week or two ago.
I'd do that.
Yeah. So check out the Midwest Game Nerds wherever you get your podcasts. And all their bonus stuff is on patreon.com/MidwestPodnet. But yeah, anything else you want to throw out there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
So, real quick, I wanted to talk about a gentleman, Charles Cyphers.
Yes.
He played and he's probably most known with horror fans for playing Sherriff Leigh Bracket in Carpenter's Halloween, 1978 Halloween.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters in that that movie. Just such a fun performance. Such like
he's only in it for a couple of scenes.
Yeah, he's not even in that. Like very like up front a bit, but like there's just such like a Midwestern charm to him.
Yep.
And I love that. He feels so genuine. He feels like, as much as the crew did a good job of trying to turn California into Illinois, his performance really drives it home for me. Like, he feels like the local sheriff in the Midwestern town.
And even with the quick interaction with his daughter and Lori, he gives one of the more indelible lines in the movie, with everybody is entitled to one good scare. Even in that small moment, like, you're right, he conveys a lot with his relationship with his daughter and her friend. Like, he feels like... Yeah,
he feels like he's... I don't know, he feels like a lot of the dads I knew growing up.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. It rings true, and he brings a lot to that movie from with a very small amount of actual screen time. So, yeah. Yes,
so he passed away this week at the age of 85 because he was born in July of 1939 in Niagara Falls, New York. He went to Cal State, and I believe that it's probably where Carpenter didn't go to Cal State, but Carpenter was USC.
Yep.
But I'm guessing they're California guys, so they were probably out there around the same time.
Yep.
And it's not just it's not just Halloween. He was also in a lot of early Carpenter movies, like Assault on Precinct
Fog
13, The Fog. I believe he was in Escape from New York as well. So he was in a lot of those early Carpenter movies. Oh, he was in Somebody Is Watching Me, which I believe that predates Halloween.
That's right.
Yeah. So Carpenter wrote something on Twitter about him too. His not Annie Bracket, the Nancy Keys. She wrote, "Sorry to hear about Dear Chuck, my friend of many years. He could always be relied on for a kind word, a good laugh, and a great story. He will be missed." So, but it wasn't just that. He was also, he did a lot of genre work. He did a lot of television work, Charlie's Angels, Wonder Woman, Starsky and Hutch, but he was also in like Death Wish 2, Grizzly 2, The Revenge. I also wanted to mention too.
Lots of genre work.
Work.
Yep.
He was also in one of my favorite movies as a kid, Major League. He played like one of the talent scouts in that. So I remember him from that, and he was also in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
That was
which
called,
one?
So he is in Go Fish, I believe is the name of it. Yeah, Go Fish is the title of it. This is a season 2 episode. It's a late season 2 episode, and it's actually like. So it's not a great episode. And
this is the season where Angel goes bad, correct? That's season 2.
Yes.
Okay.
And this comes towards the end when I think it's like episode 20 of season 2. I have a sentimental attachment to this episode because, all right, here's the story of this episode for me. Where I lived, we did not get whatever Buffy was on, like UPN or WB. I think WB at the time. We didn't get it, but we got it in what was called like syndication. I think syndication's still around, but essentially it was like the stations, your local stations would play shows. Like
reruns of shows.
Reruns of shows, or even like, I think like Star Trek The Next Generation was technically syndication, but there wasn't a set time for it. They could play it whenever they wanted. But since our local Fox affiliate would play Buffy at like 2 a.m, I think. So, and it would be after, as the years got on, it would be after WWE SmackDown.
Oh my God,
because
what a combo, dude.
Yeah, we didn't get UPN, but like I rarely stayed up. I would stay up for SmackDown from midnight to 2. Then every once in a while, like Buffy would be on after. And I think Buffy was replaced by Deep Space Nine at one point too, and Buffy got moved to the afternoon during the weekend. Anyway, I remember this being like one of maybe the first like full episodes of Buffy that I saw. And it was in like syndication, but I didn't have access to the show. So I never rewatched the show until later on, like start to finish. But I remember watching this and thinking like, what a cool weird show to like, I wish I had access to this. And he was in it. He played the swim coach, and like, I can't like they were turning into like Xander goes undercover as a swimmer, and like the swim team is like killing people one by one. I can't even remember.
I kind of remember this.
It's not a good episode. And like I was looking it up, and people were like, this is a misogynist piece of crap. And like as a kid, I'm like, you know what? This is a cool show. Like it's got like fish monsters and shit. I need to watch more of this. And then I went back and rewatched the whole series. And I still have like this weird attachment to this episode because it's one of the last like stupid episodes. Like I don't even want to say stupid, like one of the last like goofy, silly episodes of the show before the show kind of grew up in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, because by the time we get to the back half of season 2, the show really kind of finds its groove.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, like that. Like a lot of people kind of shit on the first season of Buffy. I actually think it's kind of great.
This episode belongs in the first season, honestly.
It feels more first season, but
it
like.
Does.
It's definitely once they establish who the characters are and they really kind of get the groove going, like we get more sophisticated storytelling that like carries on through the season.
Yeah.
So like season 2, we get the Angelus stuff, which kind of really ramps up in that back half.
Yes.
But yeah, I like that early Buffy stuff.
Yep.
It goes back to that a little bit later on in the show too.
I feel like
back to some of that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like season 6 there's a little bit of that because season 6 gets pretty dark, but it does go back to that a little bit.
So like, yeah, yep.
So Charles Cyphers is in the episode, and like it's kind of like this weird like sentimental attachment I have to him and that episode, and same thing with Major League. So I was reading about, and like I realized like he popped up, and Halloween's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about him for a minute because he did leave a mark, and especially with, and he always seemed like whenever we watch interviews with him, he's always seemed like a very pleasant man. Yeah,
my favorite like not on screen Charles Cyphers bit was when Jamie Lee Curtis agreed to do a convention for I think the first and only time she ever did one. It was like it
was like Indianapolis, wasn't it?
Yeah, all of her proceeds went to charity and all this stuff.
Remember, because they got Paul Rudd at one point too, but he had to cancel because Marvel screwed us over.
But Cyphers was there, and there's a really sweet bit on YouTube of Cyphers coming backstage and saying hi to Jamie Lee. And she legitimately does not recognize him at first. And she's like, it's Charlie, or he says something like that to her, and she goes, what the hell happened to you? And then she gives him a big hug, because he looks old, you know?
Yeah.
And he just cackles, like he thinks it's the best thing like ever. And I was like, that tells me a lot about him. Like,
yeah. and he was able to reprise the role in Halloween Kills, I believe, right?
That's
was it Kills?
right.
Yes, he comes back for a small part.
That's right. Yeah. So, kind of wasted in it, to be honest with you, but yeah, like, I don't know. He's just one of those guys. One of those like character actors that gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah.
So.
And I always like to, and I mean, he lived a good long life. 85 years is nice. I think we qualified that as a nice run, right? Once you hit
85 is a nice run.
85 is a good run.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to be like downers or sad. We like to celebrate the work of him, and because he's a big part of horror history.
He's a huge part of that film, and therefore like my personal, and I know yours too, like my love for cinema is so much. It's so entrenched in that first Halloween that like he's a big part of that. So yeah, R.I.P. to Charles.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely.
You ready to hop in this time machine?
Yeah, we're hopping back to when?
July 30th, 1972. So 6 years before.
We haven't been back
this
far in a while. So
every time we watch a 70s movie, I go, I want to watch more 70s movie.
Right? Like, there's this weird, like, it's weird because, like, 80s movies kind of, we grew up on those on cable and TV, right? Like,
yes.
I would agree, like, you would agree that we kind of, we didn't grow up with 80s movies 100%, like, in theaters, but.
There's something about the 70s where I watch it now, and this movie is a prime example, and we'll definitely get into it.
Right.
Where I go, I can't believe I'm watching this and that. Like, I can't believe this was made this was made 50 years ago. Like,
yeah.
This. First of all, it looks gorgeous, and second of all, some of the subject matter still holds up, and it's still brutal and effective. I can't there are times when I watch 70s movies, and I'm like, even now, I'm like, I can't believe they got away with this is, yeah.
90% of the time when we cover 70s movies on the show, which is not often enough, I don't think. But,
right.
Like, I go, this movie would never be made right now.
Right.
This
movie
with 80s movies, I go, maybe. But 70s, I'm like, nope.
This movie would definitely not get this feels like a movie that right now in the current climate would not get any sort of theatrical release. You might be able to get. This feels like something like some of the stuff in this movie feels to me like you could get away with on a TV show.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe. Yeah. No, you could. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna do the top 10 songs, and then we're gonna from July 30th, 1972. All
right.
So. Number 10, A Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress by the Hollies.
Great song.
Yeah. Number 9, Lean on Me by Bill Withers, an all-time classic.
Yeah, one of the best.
Did you ever see, was it Lean on Me was the Morgan Freeman, where he was the principal?
Yes, good movie.
I love that movie. Mm-hmm. Yes. This one I don't know. How Do You Do by Mouth and McNeil. What a weird name.
Mouth and McNeil, yeah.
Number 7, you'll know this one, School's Out by Alice Cooper.
I used to play this song every day from like 5th grade on.
Hell yeah.
Last day of school.
Hell yeah.
Yep. I'd go home and I'd jam it on the boombox.
Alice Cooper, big golfer.
Big Lions fan.
Yes. Alice Cooper, interesting guy. Fun guy. Number 6, Where's the Love by Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. I don't know if I know.
All I can think of was Where is the Love?
The Black Eyed Peas song?
But that's not.
I don't think so. I don't think, maybe, I don't know. Number 5, Daddy, Don't You Walk So Fast by Wayne Newton.
I know Wayne Newton, of course. Great staple of Vegas. Also had a great role in Vegas Vacation.
Are you a Vegas Vacation fan?
I am.
Me too.
Story about Vegas Vacation. Did I ever tell you about this? So I took a girl on my first ever date, and we were going to go see Alien Resurrection. And they wouldn't let us in because we were under 18. We were like 13.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how about Vegas Vacation?
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Which, in retrospect, having seen Alien Resurrection in the years since, the better call.
Vegas Vacation has that great bit where they go to that dirtbag casino and they're playing like War.
It's so. Isn't Wallace Shawn the?
I believe so. Yeah, he's like the card dealer, right?
It's so good.
They have that disgusting buffet. I'm sorry, anybody who badmouths Vegas Vacation. Ethan Embry's in Vegas Vacation, if I recall correctly.
Thank you.
I've got no time for anybody who badmouths Vegas Vacation.
People crap on it because it wasn't National Lampoon.
Right.
And I get that, but also, like, have you seen European Vacation?
It is Vegas Vacation is funnier than European Vacation.
Way better than European. Way better. Way better. Yes.
Number 4. I Don't Want to Be Right by Luther Ingram. Don't know that one.
No, I know the name, but
3. Too Late to Turn Back Now by Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose. Don't know that one. You'll know this one. Number 2 is Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass.
Oh my God, I love Brandy. I know you do too because it's got a soft spot, I think, in both of our hearts. Mm-hmm. Guardians 2.
It's used to great effect. Guardians 2 is I love all of the Guardians soundtracks.
2 is my favorite of the 3.
2 is my favorite. Yeah. I loved 2's got that weird like kickback AM radio like classic solid gold.
So good.
I love 2.
Yeah, 2 is my favorite. Like, yeah. Well, I told this story. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah.
What's that? Oh,
the soundtrack Guardians. For 2 is a soft spot in my heart because yeah. It's a great song.
It is. And the number 1 is Alone Again Naturally by Gilbert O'Sullivan. Sorry,
do you know this?
Yeah, I've heard it before. It's like a ballad. It was always on like those old like remember those infomercials where they'd be like, call now 1-800 for this Time Life great super songs of the 70s things. I can't sing it. I've heard it before. I just think it's so funny that a guy named Gilbert O'Sullivan is the number 1 pop hit.
But I love that because that was before like things felt super manufactured too.
Right.
Like he just used his real name. He's like, I'm Gilbert O'Sullivan. Like now they'd like change his name to like you're gonna be, I don't know, Gil Sullivan. I don't know.
Gil Sulls. Sully.
Yeah. Sully Gills.
Is that what they would call him? Sully?
Sully Gills? I don't know. Something like that.
We're not talking about Gilbert O'Sullivan though. Boy, are we not. We very much are. We're talking about John Borman's Deliverance. This, we already said when it's released. 4 city-dwelling friends decide to get away from their jobs, wives, and kids for a week of canoeing in rural Georgia.
Nice boys trip.
The boys. I mean, 100%. These 4 guys, and I'm going to include old Lewis Burt in this, should have just went golfing. like they do not belong. Burt thinks he does, but we'll get to him later.
Yep.
When the men arrive, they are not welcomed, boy are they not, by the backwoods locals who stalk the vacationers and savagely attack them in the woods. Reeling from the ambush, the friends attempt to return home, but are surrounded by dangerous rapids and pursued by a madman. Soon their canoe trips turns into a fight for survival. Wow, I messed up that plot description, or I really struggled to get through that. Willie,
it's a rough plot.
You seen Deliverance before?
I have seen Deliverance before, yes.
I've seen it once before as well. Mm-hmm. It's probably been a good 20 years. I think I saw it in college is when I watched it.
I believe I was in the same boat, yeah. I always heard about it as a classic, like Deliverance is like an all-time American classic. I eventually checked it out during that kind of like formative college years of like, I got to see all the classics. Yeah. Like it's funny. It's like I kind of knew it featured a male-on-male rape before I ever saw the movie. Mm-hmm. And I knew the
Dueling Banjos.
That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Going into it. What's funny is like, despite going into it and knowing those things, it's still it's a shocking film. It was back then, it is now too. Like it's a very I got a lot more out of it this time, funny enough, than I did the first time. Like I really enjoyed it the first time. As a piece of filmmaking, like just like a masterclass in just really guerrilla filmmaking. Like these were the actors in the boats going down the river. They had no like permits and shit for half this stuff. Like it's insane. And that's why I say it would never get made today for a multitude of reasons, both for its content and for the way it was made. It would never happen for good reason in certain respects. Like Burt Reynolds broke his collarbone, and I think Ned Beatty almost drowned. I mean, like, it was insane. Like, it shouldn't happen that way, but kind of sweet too. Like,
there is, and it works for this movie. It does. Like,
yes, there's a ruggedness to the,
and there's like you mentioned, there's an element of danger to a lot of these shots.
Yeah, it feels real because it was.
Yes.
So yeah, like I enjoyed it back when I saw it during my college years, and I took so much more from it this time because I'm in more of the headspace of where these guys are now.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not dumb enough to do what they're doing because I've whitewater rafted before.
Yes.
It's one of the most amazing experiences you can ever have. Like,
it's a ton of fun.
I would do it again. Harp, you've done it before too, right?
Yes, I did out in Colorado. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yes,
it's really, really. I would do it again. But I did it with a guide.
Me too.
Who has done the river multiple times.
Yes.
Because I have an element of actual self-awareness.
Willie and I, we make no bones about it. We are suburban men.
Yeah, it's fine. But I do love a little bit of adventure.
Me too.
Safe adventure, but adventure.
I think that's part of maybe even why we're horror fans too. Is we like to watch some of this stuff from a distance. Like we get a release from it.
For sure. Yeah, I enjoy the danger from a distance. But no, it was the timing of watching this was weird because like I just went on this guy's trip, right? 3 of us went down south for this convention, and we had not picked this movie, I don't think, at the point when I had gone down there. But the movie popped in my head at one point because I was like, we are not prepared for whatever we're driving through, and like because we drove through the Smokies.
Yeah, right.
And I've never driven through the Smokies before, and like, I don't know what we're gonna bump into. I mean, it was totally fine, but there were moments where I go like, there needs to be some hubris here because, I mean, we're dealing with uncharted territory for us, geographically and just, I don't know. I understand all 4 of these characters way more than I ever could have in my 20s.
Yes.
I don't agree with the decisions they make. I relate most to the John Voight character because I could see myself getting suckered into doing something stupid like this. Like now even. Like I'd like to think I'm smarter than to be like, yeah, Burt Reynolds, I'll follow you into the woods. You seem like a knowledgeable guy. Like I don't think I would buy into that, but like also maybe like if I was convinced enough that my buddy had it handled, like I might go for it.
I think you bring up a good. I think you mentioned all of these characters in their own ways are relatable, and yes, I would agree. I relate with, but I think what works too is I relate a lot with the Ned Beatty character.
Yeah,
and
sure,
like I'm a little soft in areas, and so is Ned Beatty, and like that is what's like that's what hits you. Sure. Like it's when you start
the Ronnie
relating
Cox
these,
one too. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead. No, keep going.
No, for sure. No, Ronnie Cox as well. But like the Ned Beatty character is the one, and some of it's just like I like Ned Beatty. He's great. This is a great cast. Like
they're so good.
Yes.
And so what's crazy to me is like John Voight was the only really established actor.
I believe he had done Coming Home as well.
He did what cowboy movie did he do? It's not an actual cowboy movie.
Is it Midnight Cowboy?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
He had done that. But he was on a downslope career-wise at this point. He was looking for something to kind of revitalize his career. So he was not exactly in a great spot, despite the fact that he had done 1 or 2 kind of starring movies. Reynolds had only done B movies.
Reynolds
did some Corman stuff, I think.
Yeah, he did a lot of like he did TV too. He did some like live back when they used to do like live like Schlitz malt liquor programming, and then I think he had done Gunsmoke at this point.
Yeah,
but...
and Voight had done Gunsmoke as well.
Right.
Yep. Everybody did Gunsmoke.
I know. I think didn't Gunsmoke run for like 40 years?
It's like the longest running show.
Right, every actor in the 70s has done at least one episode of Gunsmoke.
At least one. Usually multiple characters over the course of the Gunsmoke was basically just a soap opera with a Western setting, let's be honest. And then Beatty and Ronnie Cox were both theater actors.
Yeah.
In New York. They had never done any sort of... I think maybe Beatty had done one or two bit parts on film before, but he had never anything of this caliber. So
there are two actors too. We have mentioned, I think this, we pointed this out with another, but there are two actors that I get. When we're talking about Charles Cyphers, I love seeing them in movies because I think they're terrific. Yeah, I think they're just great.
Ned Beatty's great.
Yeah.
And Ronnie Cox also just. He's just so good in everything he does. Like Ronnie Cox is my favorite. His character is my favorite character in this movie. I don't know how much we're delving into the plot. Like, I don't know if we're doing the breakdown or not.
No, I'm not doing it. I just wanted to talk about like we have been. I have some talking points we can get into.
Sure.
But yeah, we can talk about. Let's just talk about what you wanted to talk about Ronnie Cox's character.
Yeah. Drew, I believe is his character's name.
Drew, yes.
I really like his character because he kind of represents. He represents kind of the innocence of the white suburban male. Like this, like he's a sweetheart, and he just wants to he just thinks the whole world should be like what he lives in. Like not in a negative way.
Yes.
Like he's got his head in the clouds. Like
Drew is the good bleeding heart liberal. Is what he is.
He's like this really sweet middle school he teaches middle school.
Yes.
And all the kids like him because he's the cool teacher who plays guitar.
Yep.
And he feels like he's changing the world one mind at a time.
Yeah.
Then he dies horribly. And when he goes off,
he drives an electric vehicle, but he's not like a dick about it.
Right? Yeah. He doesn't brag. If somebody asks him, he wants to tell him. He'll tell them the benefits of electric. He votes left.
Yes.
But he doesn't make a big deal about it. He might post a thing or two here or there.
Yeah, he'll throw out a like. He'll throw out a like.
Yeah, but
he's
not going to preach.
He's not going to impose his politics.
He's like the nicest guy. But
he is so out of his element.
Beyond. And what's crazy is obviously awful, horrible things happen before his death in the movie.
Right.
But there's something about when his character goes overboard and is gone for the rest of the narrative. Until they find him bent in half, which is horrifying. That shot of him with his arm kind of on the rock, it's gnarly.
Oh my god! I found a freeze frame of that online, and I was gonna show. Oh my god, it's so good.
It's good though.
Yeah.
When as soon as his character exits the picture, literally, there's an element of that loss of innocence that I feel like filmmakers in the 70s loved to portray. And I think it was because, honestly, a lot of it is a reaction to the loss of America's innocence.
Because we're in the
70s.
Vietnam War,
Right.
yes. We're on the tail end of the Vietnam War, too. And by this point, yes.
Yeah. What's funny about the Vietnam thing, too, is that, America lost its innocence long before Vietnam.
For sure.
We had just built up a couple decades worth of perceived innocence.
The 60s is where we really the 60s is where we really start to lose it.
Yes,
everything that happened in the 60s, but then the 70s is, and that's why I like watching a lot of movies.
It's a breaking point.
It's us dealing with that through art.
This movie is too.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's it's a reaction to that for sure. But when he's gone, the film loses its innocence because even the John Voight character, who is definitely wide-eyed and kind of maybe the next in line in terms of characters you might feel for. Well, the Ned Beatty, I don't know. The Ned Beatty character is a little sleazy sometimes.
The thing with Ned Beatty too is it might be why I identify with him the most is, he's he's a smartass. Like he's sarcastic and he's a prick early in the movie.
Yes.
And I could see myself getting into a situation, like saying something like that.
No,
like,
you would. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, like, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like,
and I wouldn't even know I'm doing it. It's just like my natural way.
Like you say funny shit.
I say funny shit
to diffuse things.
And then I absolutely.
It's part of your personality.
I identify with that, and like. So there's an innocence to him as well too.
For sure,
he's kind of naive in what he does it, but then you're like, he's kind of Ronnie Cox's character is not like that. Ronnie Cox's character is pure.
Yes,
and he also the dueling banjos moment is iconic,
so sweet.
But it's also like it's perfect in the way that it is like two people bonding from completely different backgrounds over music.
It's kind of like I was taken aback by how beautiful that scene is.
It is.
It's beautiful,
and it's what makes even like the shot of the kid from the bridge above, like that comes across. It's like it's really sad because especially if you know what's coming later. Because it is this part where, like, you see these people from two different backgrounds and cultures. They come together and they can. I've been watching a lot of the Olympics too, and you see all these countries. It's kind of like on its face, it's beautiful. Like all of these countries who, in some cases, hate each other.
They're all going to go back to their.
They're all going to go back, but like for these 2 weeks, like they can get together and they just play sports. And like you're like this is like now I sound like
why can't we? Be
I sound like
that?
Ronnie Cox.
You
right
do.
now. but that's what's beautiful about him.
It is.
And then you see these two guys and they're just playing banjos back and forth. You see him and the kid, and you're like, oh, why can't we just do this? And then you get later in the movie and you go, okay, this is real life. I mean, it's not real life, but this is where reality smacks you in the face that not everything is like that.
Yeah, and even I'm glad you mentioned the moment on the bridge because like Ronnie Cox wants that recognition of like, hey, we bonded, and the kid's just kind of like,
whatever, like, good luck out there.
Yeah, shouldn't be going down that river, but all right. But yeah, so I think Ronnie Cox is kind of the for me, kind of the he's not the moral compass. He's just his character is kind of he represents kind of the pureness of this naivete that all four of these guys. There's no bravado. It's just a pure like I want to spend a nice day or two on the river with my friends.
Yes,
that's all it is. He's just there to have fun and like just have a nice trip. The other guys all have kind of different, reasons for being there.
John Voight feels like a guy who has seen some shit. He almost feels like a soldier who has come back from or maybe is in the shit over there because he has a connection to his family too. He's kind of like. Do we see him looking at a picture of his wife? I can't remember. We do see his wife at the end of the movie.
Yes.
But like he has that connection he has something that he wants to get back to, and he feels like a soldier caught up, like caught up in the middle of something bigger than him, and he wants to get back.
He feels like somebody who's definitely been through something.
Yes.
He is, or maybe it's as simple as it might not be that. It might be. I get the John Voight character, the vibe I get is that, like, he spent his pre-child and wife and adult life years maybe more adventurous and doing more fun things, and he's trying to chase the dragon a little bit. Yeah. And he's doing it through the Burt Reynolds character.
Yep.
Who's never stopped chasing the dragon. He's always he is the dragon.
Yeah.
What his past is, obviously, we don't delve into it too much, and you could be on point with that. But he definitely is somebody who's been in situations that are dangerous and been in. He's not completely.
He feels like he's already lost his innocence in a way.
Yeah,
and I think as you and I get older, and I think as people get older, you do start to become a little cynical, a little harder edge.
Yeah.
And you do. You're not Ronnie Cox your whole life. Like you do.
Well, even during the rape scene, right? There's only two characters really present for that, and it's John Voight's character and Ned Beatty's character.
Yes.
And John Voight's character certainly does not get the brunt of what happens there before it's ended, but you get a sense of John Voight's character, like he's witnessing all of this, like he's there. and he knows he's next, but there's almost a stoic quality about Jon Voight's character during all of that, where you go, this guy is not, he's not Burt Reynolds' character, where he's like a complete hard ass, but he's also in a lot of ways stronger than Burt Reynolds' character.
Yes. Because
there's a surface level strength to Burt Reynolds' character where it's very much I'm the manly man. He's got his like life vest thing.
Yeah.
He clearly the guy like works out and he's like blah blah blah. The Jon Voight character is the strongest character in the whole movie.
Yes.
Internally certainly. And why that is, it could be maybe he has been served somewhere in the military. We don't know that. Or maybe it's as simple as like he's got a wife and kid to get back to, and he is going to be damned if he lets whatever's going to happen like break him, or just like he's going to get back to his family. I don't know.
I think all the performances are terrific in this. I think Voight is very good in this as well. His accent's a little spotty, but whatever. that never really bothers me that much.
We're watching The Walking Dead, so
I do. Yeah, I notice it and then I move on. But yeah, I do want to say this. I like Burt Reynolds. I've seen quite a few of his movies. Yeah.
I like later Burt Reynolds, though.
Where he becomes a bit of a parody of himself.
Kind of.
Yes. He becomes Burt. He becomes Burt Reynolds. Yeah. He's not at this point. He is still young in his career.
It's like proto-Burt Reynolds.
This kind of launched him in a lot of ways, too.
This was his first breakthrough. Yeah. And he's very good in this, too, though.
I think this is his best performance.
It's so good.
I would even put this above Boogie Nights later on.
Right?
Because I feel like there's something natural about... So, Burt Reynolds was a football player, and he blew out his knee at Florida State. Yep. And there's something about... A football player is a manly man, too, but there's something about a football player being hobbled and having to deal with the fact that like you're not superhuman. And Burt in this movie there's an insecurity to him. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, or if it's just something that comes natural out of him because of what happened to him as a football player. But like it's almost like he's projecting this manliness. And you see this a lot nowadays with people, but like it comes across to me like insecurity a lot of the times. And like he thinks he's the master of this river, but he's not.
He's never been on the river. So, yeah.
He thinks he knows more than the locals. He thinks he knows. And that's kind of one of the points of the movie is like, you don't know more than the river itself. Like you can't beat nature.
In a lot of ways, and I could see why somebody maybe watching the movie today might feel like the rape scene might feel like it's kind of exploitive.
Let's talk about the rape scene a little bit here.
Yeah, sure. You have to. I could see why people might feel icky about it and might feel like it exploits a group of people who live in that region, who live a certain lifestyle. I don't disagree with that, and I think those criticisms are fair. I do. I really do. However, I like to think that those two characters, the two backwoods guys, I'll just call them that for lack of a better term, that they represent more than just some sort of demographic, right? I don't think that that's the intention, and that's not what I take from it. It's not. There are plenty of people that these characters from the city meet throughout the course of their journey that are perfectly reasonable people that they kind of openly and inwardly mock and treat as lesser than.
Yes.
And it's nasty and it's gross. That's the nastier thing to me in a lot of ways in terms of the behavior, because I don't see these two characters, these two backwoods guys, as characters in a lot of ways. They're not. They're not painted as anything more than antagonists and as borderline feral human beings. They don't represent a certain type of person. They represent nature, and they represent the hubris of these men from the city, and they represent the river. That's what they represent.
They're like the manifestation of the river.
They are the physical manifestation of the river and of everything that these guys are going up against unprepared. That's it. These are not characters. They're not.
They're a little bit like, I guess, for a horror movie, they're a little bit like Michael Myers in Halloween. like they're the manifestation of, well, not so much like he's the manifestation of evil. They're the manifestation of kind of the revenge of the river, because the movie is
about the death of the river.
About the death of the river, about the raping of the river. They even say it early in the movie where they talk about, I think it's Burt Reynolds' character says, like, we're raping the river. Is it Burt that says it? I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
He's so passionate about the damn river.
Live your life with the passion that Burt Reynolds' character has about pretends he has for the river.
Yeah, pretends he has, exactly.
So there are a couple things that I agree with you. I want to touch on here, and the thing though is for me is like it's tough with these older movies to separate what can be pinned on the movie and what could be pinned on the movies that came after and were inspired by this movie. Because like you said, I do think I agree with you, like these characters, there's almost a supernatural element to them because they kind of float into the picture and then flow out of the picture at some point, and then it becomes man versus nature in the actual, like
there's not even an assurance that the character Jon Voight encounters on the mountaintop is the same character.
Yeah.
It's the same actor, I believe. But
yes,
everybody questions it. Like there's no definitive like this is the guy who was there during the rape.
Yes.
Like that's never fully confirmed. And that kind of questioning of like was that just a hunter up there is like furthered by their conversations with law enforcement at the end where he's like,
yes,
oh, his cousin or his son or nephew, I don't know what was up there hunting and he went missing, and it's like, was that the one that Jon Voight killed?
Right.
If it is, was that also the guy who was attempting to rape?
The way it's shot too is it's kind of amazing in the way it's shot too, because he shoots it like through the tree branches kind of blocking everything, but you still feel the impact of it. And I don't think it's exploitative the way it's shot. I think it's nasty. And the thing I don't like, this is a subgenre of horror movie, so we kind of have to mention it. And I don't think this is a rape revenge movie by any means.
No, no.
But rape revenge movies are a subgenre of horror movies, and it's one that I don't particularly like. And because a lot of it feels nasty and mean and gross, and a lot of it is sex driven.
I don't like. I'm not a Last House on the Left guy.
Me neither.
I'm just not.
Came out the same year, which is
weird, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that movie. I understand why it has its fans. I get it. I'm not like dissing anybody who enjoys the movie. It's all good, but it's not for me. I Spit on Your Grave, stuff like that. I just don't.
It's not like I Spit on Your Grave. Like it's weird to say enjoyment, but what I enjoyed in that movie is kind of a person on an exploitative level is what it is. Like it's just kind of gross. Like I'm just like it's one of those movies you watch and go, yeah, you made this.
This is not exploitation to me personally. No. This movie feels like it's saying things beyond just the. And
the rape scene isn't about sex either. And you know what? A lot of the rape revenge movies are, but this is all about humiliating Ned Beatty's character and a lot of it is almost, I don't want to say it's a punishment, but he's the one he's the one that like was sarcastic early, and this is about them.
Yep.
And the river and nature like asserting power over him and putting the city boy, the suburban boy, in its place.
Yep.
And that's what it is, and that's what makes it effective too.
I agree.
So,
yep.
Okay, we did talk about that. Anything? Where are we at here?
No, I mean, we should talk about Ned Beatty real quick.
Yes,
Beatty's great. Mm-hmm. What I love about his journey as a character in this movie is that he like, first of all, like, I can't even imagine how difficult it was to shoot that stuff. Like, it could not have been pleasant for anybody. And props to Ned Beatty for... He takes a character who's kind of not terribly likable in the early bits of this movie. Like, of the four, you're like, this guy's kind of a jerk. Like, yeah. But, like, by the end of the movie, you're like, man, like, it's not just the fact of what he goes through. Like, his performance during that scene is so sad and so just like like watching it this time, I was like acted like upset, like just like his reaction to what's happening to him is so like there's such like a denial of what's going to happen, and like him pleading.
It's
like,
so yeah.
That's what like the actual rape itself in the movie. Like, of course, it's horrible, but like you said, it's shot in a way where it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much in the background, and you know what's happening and whatnot. But it's him like pleading for so fucking long, and like struggling with this guy, and like, but not struggling in like a fighting way, just like kind of like, no, please don't.
We
like,
mentioned this a little earlier. TV especially has pushed the boundaries in a lot of ways in the last 20 or so years.
Too much sometimes, though.
Too much sometimes. And it's amazing to me that scene affected me as much as it did, because I thought, like, there's a part of me that has become numb to that kind of shit.
But this is way better.
It is
way
better. Yep.
Though. Like, it's just there's
a lot of it is Beatty's performance too, as you mentioned.
It's so good, and to be fair, the aggressor's performance too,
right?
But Beatty is really the one that really drives it home. Like, and it's not. If this was made today for like a this was like a I'm not dissing any show or anything, but if this was what's the example I'm trying to think of? What's a raunchy streaming show that I can throw under the bus here?
Are you talking about like the features like kind of like a rape?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like something that would do that. Like okay, like oh god, what's
so I will say that there's
the
a
Jason Bateman show on Netflix that it just ended a couple years ago.
Oh, Ozark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if this is Ozark, we'd see Jason Bateman like getting raped.
Yeah.
Because like there's no limits to what you can.
Yes.
But it would not be as effective.
No.
Because there's a certain element of.
There's a show called Outlander.
Okay.
That features that as a lot. That features rape a lot. And
okay.
There's an episode where I went like, this is too much. Like this is too much.
Like it's like
yes.
It's like yeah.
And I think that the show is remarkably well done, but you're right.
At a certain point, it's so much that you're like unaffected by it. You're saying,
and I'm
okay, let's
like this is a problem now. Like it's a plot device at this point. Yeah. Like what are we doing here? So
this is handled in a way where like it leaves a lot to the viewer's imagination in a way that would not, I don't think, be done today. And it's the better for it. It's more effective for it. So,
but the thing is, but with Beatty's characters, you see too, like. The walls, like all of the characters, like the walls kind of lower, they kind of break down.
Yeah.
And the only one that there's great stuff. I think we're probably going to switch to Jon Voight here, or I'm going to switch to Jon Voight's character real quick, because he's got the journey here, and he's really the main character in this movie in a lot of ways. But he's got the journey here where he's the one that's, when pushed, capable of killing somebody.
Yeah.
He's the one capable of violence, and we see him early and he can't kill the deer. But it's because he doesn't need to kill the deer. Like there's no reason for him to kill the deer in that moment. Like they're not going to eat it. But when he's pushed and when he kills the guy, like that's when he's capable of doing it. Ned Beatty's character is not capable of doing that. Ronnie Cox's character is not capable of doing that. No. Burt maybe, but like
Burt kills the
the
first guy.
You're right.
Burt's capable, but the second Burt gets hurt, Burt is
impotent.
He's done.
Yeah, he's done.
So when you're talking about Jon Voight's character, so we see Ronnie Cox is the constant, right? He's the same throughout the entire movie. That's, I think, another part of why his death is so like he's our constant. He's our kind of. Beatty's character grows. He doesn't necessarily get stronger. But he, God, what's the word I'm looking for? He becomes more focused almost. He becomes more respectful of what's going on.
Yeah.
Reynolds' character gets weaker.
Yes.
As the movie goes on. For a good reason, I guess. But also, like, by the end, he's like a crying.
Reynolds is where the Vietnam stuff gets interesting because... He's America, and like he's the American male in a nutshell. And he is arrogant, and he is imposing himself on this land in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And he thinks he knows better.
I'm bigger and better than this land.
He thinks he knows better than the locals. And he doesn't. So Burt is where that Vietnam, the parallels come into play, I think.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, whereas Voight gets stronger.
Yes.
Like you said, he can't kill the deer at first, but then he goes, like, he saves the group. If that's the guy who was... We don't confirm that...
Well, that's the thing with the movie that I think is brilliant about it, is it doesn't confirm it, and like it makes no judgment. Like it doesn't really make judgment. It's just like, this is stuff that happened. Like
in the book, it's different.
Okay,
so
I've got some stuff later, like when we get to the author, because he's a character.
He is a character. In the book, they do, when they find Drew's body on the river, they confirm that he was shot.
Okay,
which lends more credence to, okay, the guy that he killed on the mountaintop was indeed an aggressor of some sort. But in the movie, you don't get that. They're like, oh, was he shot? I don't see anything. Maybe. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the kind of the nebulous.
The thing with the other thing with Ned Beatty's character and Ronnie Cox to an extent too is like you're so like these are men that are they're bored in city life, suburban life, and they're looking to, like you said, challenge themselves. They're looking to essentially face death in a lot of ways. And there is
they think until they actually face death,
but not actual death.
Yeah.
They want safe death. They want the
illusion.
They want a roller coaster, basically. Like they deep down, they just want to be harnessed in, and like they want to feel like they're out of control, but not really. And like Ned Beatty, you're sitting there going like, why are you doing this, man? Like, what are you proving?
You should not be here right now.
You should not be. And like, it is kind of interesting, like how it almost shows how much it does show how much we've evolved. Like, and I remember this, like when Armageddon came out and Deep Ink came out the same year, like it's funny to me too, that like I hear these big budget movies about like everybody dying. Like we're essentially just jerking off to our own demise. Like,
kind of, right?
Yeah, so there's this weird thing, but it shows you how relatively safe in the grand scheme of humanity we are right now. Mm-hmm. Like we don't have to worry about that. We have to pretend like. Anyway, so John Voight, I wanted to I think I mentioned him, but he's very good in this movie.
Yes,
this is one of, I think, my favorite of his performances. I forget how good he can be because he was. It's
hard not to get caught up in.
So okay,
he's a bit of a character.
His politics don't align with mine.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you, because it doesn't. An actor's politics rarely affect my viewing of their work, because I realize, and you know what, I'm gonna put this out there for like. I guess I'm gotten old enough now to where across the political spectrum there are so many shitty people that like I do not care.
Sure.
So that does, like, where I draw the line is like being a shitty person too. And I don't know John Voight personally. I don't know what he's like. I know he has his problems with. he seems like a bit of a loon at times, but like I have always found him like to be I have always enjoyed a lot of. I don't want to say always.
His performances, yeah.
In Anaconda, I loved it.
It's great.
But like, I don't know. It just, I was curious if it affects you, if that kind of stuff affects you.
Usually no.
Okay.
There are certain people who are so extreme where I'm like, it feels a little icky watching them do stuff. I'm trying to think of James Woods is a bit much for me.
He's a good example because
I like James Woods as an actor. He talks too much as a person.
Yes.
And so he'd be one that I would kind of say is on that borderline of I'll watch vampires still, but like
Videodrome you can watch.
It hurts it a little bit. Yes. But it's the same thing with It's a similar thing to like people who like actors who do shitty things in real life, not politically, just not their views, but like Spacey.
Yes.
How do you feel about watching a Spacey movie now? Does it change it, or do you separate he's an asshole, fine, but I'll just watch this character.
I don't know where you're right. I don't know where the line is
tough
for me. Yeah.
Like with Spacey, like I can watch Seven and have no issue.
Right.
Maybe because he's playing a jerk, like like a horrible person. Maybe that's it. But like, could I watch like the Cosby Show right now?
No,
I don't think so. He's playing Captain Squeaky Clean, and I know for a fact that he's like the absolute opposite. So there are degrees for me.
It's weird, and like there are plenty of stories out there about like Stallone, and like the thing is, like,
still watch a Stallone.
I can still watch, and like the thing is, like, I don't know what it is about him, but a lot of times, like when he's playing Rocky or the Tulsa King, like I'm like, what a warm, cuddly Italian man this guy is.
Right.
Yes.
So there's plenty of Schwarzenegger stuff out there too.
Right.
So like with Schwarzenegger, there's like,
I don't know, like, but I guess that's the thing with acting. That's the weird thing about actors.
I guess I just don't like. I don't know. It's tough. We're wrestling fans, right?
Right.
Can you go back and watch
Chris
a Benoit match?
No, I personally I can't.
I get it.
Yeah.
I have not done it since. I don't know if I could.
But you know what? I can watch The Naked Gun and laugh at O.J. Simpson being Nordberg and like doing prep files. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's a fool.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's how they're portrayed. Like maybe I could not watch.
I mean, I know O.J. was innocent, according to a court of law.
If I was watching maybe like Seven for me, and I'm not saying Kevin Spacey did anything. Like I don't know. If Seven for me, I can watch because Kevin Spacey's playing the bad guy. Maybe that's easier.
Yeah.
If I was watching like a Kevin Spacey where he's like the hero. Does that movie exist, by the way? It does.
Where Kevin Spacey is the hero? Yeah. I don't know. He always plays kind of a sleaze, doesn't he?
Right?
So you could...
Looking back. But yeah, like Cosby is a good,
yeah.
You know. No. I don't watch
Woody Allen for me. I was a big Woody Allen fan.
I can't do it.
But what's weird about that for me is like...
I can watch the movies he directs, though.
Right.
He's not in. Right. Because he's not present, so I don't know.
It's weird. And like, that's the other thing, too, is like, I don't know, this is probably me being full of shit, too, is like, there was always kind of stuff, gross stuff, like, with Woody Allen. Like, I always kind of knew about it. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's gross. He married his whatever.
Yeah, right? So
I always kind of knew about it. And then, like, all of a sudden, like they told me all about it, and I'm like, oh, what?
Fuck. Yeah, can you watch a Roman Polanski movie?
Well, and that's... All right, and this is the Roman Polanski, this is the Michael Jackson thing, too. It depends on the time. Because Roman Polanski went through such a traumatic event, too, and it's not excusing.
Can you watch Rosemary's Baby and be like... Totally.
That's the thing, is like there's a point, there's a cutoff point for me with him where, yeah, I not watched a lot of recent Roman Polanski stuff, and a lot of that is because I don't want to support it. But then, like, but now remember he showed up in Rush Hour 3 with Brett Ratner?
Does he?
Yes, he shows up in Rush Hour 3, which is so insane. Same thing but it's the Michael Jackson thing is like, those allegations came out in like 92. That's my cutoff point for Michael Jackson.
Even though things are probably happening before that.
But I don't know that.
I know. It's weird, man. I don't know what you do. Like, it's not like I'm going to listen to some Michael Jackson. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to like it because Michael Jackson wrote some incredible or performed some incredible songs.
So what am I going to do? I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, John Voight, he's a good actor. Can be a good actor.
Did none of those things we're talking about?
He's just someone we disagree and was maybe a pretty bad father. Too.
That's kind of shitty politics.
Shitty politics. Probably a bad dad.
Yeah. Yes. That's all I know.
But I've always liked him as an actor. I got us started on that.
Go.
That's my fault.
Sorry, Voight.
Burt. All right. So...
Burt.
I just want to talk about Burt real quick because he's a Florida boy. Burt's a Florida boy. He was born in like Palm Beach, I think.
Rings true.
Yeah, right. He's part Scottish Irish and part Cherokee.
Oh,
he like this was I think he was like 35, 36 when this is when he became a star. So he was like a later star. We talked a little bit about his early stuff, and we talked a little bit about this movie, but like this is like what propelled him into box office stardom. Mm-hmm. But like this movie, I think if it excuse me, something caught in my throat. If it wasn't for The Godfather being released the same year, this probably would have I mean, this would have been an Oscar movie in a lot of I
Yeah,
think. And I think Burt's performance is, like I said, it could have propelled him into a different career, but that's not the career Burt chose.
Nope.
He went on to do like Gator, The Longest Yard, Cannonball Run, Smokey and the Bandit, one of my favorite movies of all time. Burt was...
I saw Paul Williams from Smokey and the Bandit, by the way.
Yeah.
In my hotel lobby in Knoxville.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
You're drinking a Coors, which is what the Bandit was running.
Great taste.
Smokey and the Bandit is just one of those crazy movies that has a plot of like he's just running Coors around, but it's so fun.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Do you like the second one or no?
What's that?
Do you like 2?
Not as much. I'm a 1 guy, but yeah.
No one likes 2. There was a 3 as well, right?
There is a 3. Wasn't 3 like, is Burt in 3?
I don't think so.
No, Burt's like 3 is like a made for like TBS movie or something.
Right?
They would show it on like TBS because it was too expensive to run 1.
That sounds right.
They show 2 and 3 back to back after Atlanta Braves games and WCW wrestling.
Hell yeah. Those are the days.
But like Sally Field, and oh my gosh, she's terrific in Smokey and the Bandit. Smokey and the Bandit, Sally Field. That is who I would get. That would be my Marissa Tomei. I would if I met Smokey and the Bandit era. Sally Field.
I love that.
Both were Aunt May's though. Weirdly enough.
Oh my God, that's right. Do I have an Aunt May thing?
I don't know. What do you think of Rosemary Harris?
I mean, back in the day, I don't know.
But like he would like pass on terms of endearment.
Yeah,
which Jack Nicholson won an Oscar. 80s and 90s were like when his star faded, but then in the 90s, like he had that TV show Evening Shade. He was in Boogie Nights, but at the same time in like 98, he was like bankrupt completely because Burt was terrible with money.
Yeah, not great. He went through that shitty divorce with Lonnie.
He went through the shitty divorce with Lottie. He had like this restaurant in Atlanta that was terrible.
He did Boogie Nights. He did Striptease.
He did Striptease. Yeah, you're right.
Big for him.
Yes, yeah. He had kind of a renaissance, but like
he did.
Classic Burt, like he never followed through. Like he never kept. There was never like really a Burt assance. Like he was
pretty broke at that point.
It's like Nick Cage is a good example too, where like Nick Cage is very obviously broke. Was broke.
He's had like 4 renaissances. Nick Cage has.
But that's the thing. Like a lot of people now will sit here and go like, I can't believe we took Nick Cage for granted. Like, I can't believe like we thought he was a shitty actor. But I'm like, did you see some of the shit he was doing like 10 or 15 years ago? It was garbage. Like he was obviously doing it because he needed money.
Yeah.
But now he has done a lot of really interesting recent work. Burt wouldn't do that. Burt would like do 1 or 2 movies like that and it's like, I'm good. I'm good. Burt is the Norm.
Spend it all, and then he'd be like, I gotta get more money.
Burt is the Norm Macdonald impression of him.
Turd Ferguson.
Do you have any thoughts on Burt? I've got a Joe Bob.
No, he's great. I love his performance is great. His decline into kind of becoming like literally like the third wheel, basically, where he's just like he's the thing holding them back at a certain point because of his injuries and stuff like that. Like I like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is from Joe Bob Briggs on Burt. I wanted to read this off because I was reading a little bit about, and he wrote a kind of an obituary. I think he knew Burt Reynolds. I don't know if they were. I doubt they were close, but like maybe they were. I don't know.
Was Burt closer than anybody?
That's the thing.
No one knows.
Actually, most of the people that started his movies in the 80s, he was close with because like he was just doing movies with his buddies. Which is amazing. But,
good for Burt.
Joe Bob says, given the right material, he could have been one of our great actor-directors on a par with Redford or Eastwood or Gibson. And I actually, watching this, Deliverance, I
agree.
Yeah. Instead, he will be remembered primarily for a movie about a redneck in a cowboy hat who accepts a job running a legal Coors beer from Texarkana to the old fairgrounds on the south side of Atlanta for no particular reason other than so his friends can have beer at the party. After 100 minutes of chase scenes, car crashes, encounters with a flummoxed sheriff played by Jackie Gleason, and an on-the-road romance with a runaway bride, Sally Field, Burt and his posse sidekick, Jerry Reed, are victorious. The beer is served, the party continues. It may be the thinnest plot in the history of the world to gross $300 million, and Burt would be okay with that. He would think that's great because it's about his people, his way of doing things, and his party.
I love it. It's great. What a beautiful, like, just remembrance there.
Yeah, Joe. If you want to search it, you can search out Joe Bob Briggs.
It's great.
Burt Reynolds. It's a really, good, and a lot of the information I took was from that. But yeah, it's a really nice.
And Burt would be okay with that.
He would. Burt was a good old boy. John Boorman, I just want to mention real quick. He directed Point Blank.
Maniac.
Yes. He has such a bizarre filmography too.
Oh my god!
Point Blank is a classic. I love his Excalibur movie.
Yeah, it's great.
But he also directed Zardoz and The Exorcist too.
If you could see the face I was making right now.
But then he was still interesting later in his career. He directed a movie called Taylor of Panava, which is a Pierce Brosnan movie I really like.
Yeah.
He was an efficient director. He never shot anything beyond what was needed. You mentioned the camera work.
Old school.
He didn't like using second unit directors. He thought every unit should have the same integrity. So, very old school.
Oh, very old school. In a kind of a cool way.
Yeah.
Almost killed people, but, do what you got to do.
Hey, it's the 70s, man. I don't know.
Wild West.
Hey, John Voight and Burt Reynolds knew what they were getting into.
That's right.
Who knows if they did? I don't know. James Dickey is the novelist. We
Oh
mentioned him earlier.
Oh my!
What was I sent you earlier? Because this is a great Burt story too.
Well, old James.
Yes, you got anything to say about James while I found this? Yes.
And had a lot of issues with the adaptation of his book.
Okay.
And
I have not read the book.
My understanding is he broke Borman's jaw at one point. Because he punched him on set.
There are some maniacs on this movie.
Yes, and was banned from set at that point in time. Yeah.
Here's a story, too, that I found, too. I think this is in the commentary, Borman's commentary. Dickey visited the set. In addition to drinking a lot, he spooked the actors because he insisted on calling them by their character names. The cast eventually asked Borman to send Dickey on his way, and while the author complied, he insisted on saying goodbye first by telling the actors, "It appears that my presence will be most efficacious, sorry, thank you, by its absence." And I'm like Burt here, because Burt Reynolds replied by saying, "Does that mean he's staying or going?" which is a great Burt thing. Also, he made claims that everything in his book happened to him.
Yes.
And then I believe Borman said they got on the water, he was on set one day, or they got on the water and he had no clue what he was doing. And Borman's like, his story is questionable.
No one believed him. Even the people he claimed to be on the water with when this thing happened were kind of they never said straight up it's alive. They were like, yeah, I mean,
some of what he's saying is
it's loose. My guess is they crashed a boat,
right,
and called for help. That was probably
yeah. He went whitewater rafting once and decided. Right. So yeah, that's it. The last thing last couple things I want to say about this movie is I really do think this is one of, watching it again, I would put this up as one of I think this is a quintessential American movie.
Yes.
I think we covered why in a lot of it. And I do think if you have not seen it, and if somehow are still listening to us spoil the hell out of it, go see it.
It's a very good movie.
I think it's a movie. It's a horror movie.
It is 100%.
Yes, I think it's a horror movie. It's a survival movie. It influenced a lot of horror movies. I think it probably a few years later influenced something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This is elevated horror before they started calling it elevated horror.
Right.
This is like the critics back then were calling it other stuff. Sure, it's a drama in some ways, but also this is a horror film. It is.
Yes.
Period. That's my personal. This is a horror film through and through. It just happens to be a horror film with really strong performances, a really interesting theme. And really, really, really incredible direction and filmmaking behind it. That's it. It's a horror film.
It moves quick too. It's not. Sometimes I will admit, sometimes I watch horror movies and I get a little antsy.
Sure.
This movie moves like crazy.
For sure.
It jumps from
peasy.
one thing. It never spends too long on something. Well, I mean, it spends, but it's always effective in how it does. And like I mentioned, if you haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time, go back and watch it again, because I think a lot of what it's saying can be applied to a lot of what's going on today, in the world.
100%.
And it's funny, I remember, and this movie has made such a mark on culture. And like you mentioned, maybe not in the best of ways, but I remember my uncle of mine, he would quote the "squeal like a pig" thing. It's like
my dad would joke about it.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And maybe it's a more off-color joke, but like that's. I just want to point that out because like that's how ingrained it became in a certain generation who saw this movie. Like my dad talks about this movie because like it's a movie that will embed itself in your brain in a lot of ways.
For sure.
So if you haven't seen it in a while, go back and check it out because
it's great.
I think I was surprised by how good I thought this was. Like, it's a great film.
It's really great.
How do you want to wrap this up? I think next week is next. Are we going to be good to record in 2 weeks from now? I think so too, right? Because you'll be back.
Yep.
You have any ideas for how you want to wrap?
What's the finale? Is this the finale of our?
No, I think we need to do one more because we have one more August episode. Then we'll do something different.
Do you have ideas? Because
let me check something
off the top of my head.
Because I wanted to show, and it's a weird thing to wrap this up, but I want to see. Tell the people where they can reach us.
Yes, horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. We are on Twitter @HMYearbook. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, all those things, by searching Horror Movie Yearbook. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube page. Tim's always doing some really cool stuff on there.
Yeah, I'll be back.
So I'll be back soon. Check out our content there because it's good stuff. So yeah.
I want to do this movie, and
yes,
because you will soon be a Paramount Plus subscriber. It's on there. It's also, I think, on Hulu as well. It's a movie that came out a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I think you'll find it at least interesting. It's the Wrong Turn remake.
I've been wanting to watch this. Yes,
let's watch that. I think this is I think it's an okay wrap up, and I think it's something different because you have not seen it yet.
I'm psyched.
Matthew Modine, I think, is in it.
Love Modine.
I think you'll at the very least find it interesting because I think it does some fun stuff with the original. So we're going to be watching Wrong Turn 2021.
Nice.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. Stay safe out there.